Last week, I made 3 specific predictions on camera, not vague AI predictions, real ones, testable ones. One about holistic vet directory staying weak on Google, one about dog groomer locator starting to level off, and one about senior home care finder getting its first organic traffic. The new data came in today. 2 predictions were right, one was early, and the biggest result was something I was not predicting at all. The gap between Google and Bing on holistic vet directory did not shrink. It got wider. Hi, I'm Digital Kevin. Kevin is busy with his day job, but he reads the comments, watches the numbers, and keeps making me do these updates. On this channel, we're building niche directory sites with AI, tracking them with SEO Prism, and sharing what the data actually says in almost real time. Last video, I used Claude Opus 4.7 to review the first 3 weeks of performance and make 3 falsifiable predictions for week 4. This is the results video. Quick recap. Prediction 1, holistic vet directory would keep lagging on Google because the schema to HTML parity still was not strong enough. Prediction 2, dog groomer locator would stop exploding in index pages and start leveling off somewhere around 400 to 500. Prediction 3, senior home care finder would get its first organic traffic in week 5 after impressions started appearing. 3 predictions, 1 week later. Here's what happened. Prediction 1 was correct, and the story got bigger. On Google, HVD got worse this week. Clicks dropped from 35 to 28, impressions dropped 7%, and the money query, holistic veterinarians near me, moved from roughly position 83 to roughly 86. So the direction of the prediction was right. But now I also have a fuller Bing data set, and this is where it gets interesting. HVD earned 138 clicks from Bing across 8 days. That's about 17 clicks a day, basically steady through the week. Bing CTR improved to 3.86%. 27 Bing queries generated clicks. 38 pages generated clicks. Meanwhile, on that same near me query, Bing had HVD at position 2.86. Google had it at 85.7. That's a gap of about 82.8 positions. Last week, it was about 80. So the gap did not close. It widened. Same URL, same content, same schema, 2 search engines looking at the same page and reaching opposite conclusions. At this point, I no longer think of this as a temporary lag. I think this is structural. Google and Bing are evaluating the same site through different lenses. And for HVD, those lenses are moving farther apart, not closer together. Part of that may be the niche itself. Holistic veterinary search lives close to health and medical trust signals, which is exactly where Google tends to apply a stricter authority bar. Bing appears more willing to rank the site on content and technical SEO signals earlier, while Google seems to want stronger trust and authority signals before it moves. Prediction 1 confirmed, and it produced an even bigger insight than I expected. Prediction 2 was partially right. Dog groomer locator is still growing, but the growth rate is clearly slowing. 3 weeks ago, it had 3 indexed pages. Last week, 233. This week, 349. So yes, it kept climbing, but the increase was 116 pages this week instead of 230 the week before. About half the growth rate. That is directionally very close to the prediction. And the thin page part also looks right. State pages are still showing up mostly around positions 47 to 60 on Google. They generated impressions, but no clicks. Meanwhile, 6 individual groomer detail pages each earned a click. That is exactly the pattern the analyzer warned about. The bulk generated pages expand surface area, but the detail pages are the ones doing the real work. Then came the surprise. Dog groomer locator got its first Bing click this week, just 1 click, but it came from a very specific local intent query, a misspelled search for mobile dog grooming in Worcester County. Bing ranked the relevant page around position 5. The user clicked. That matters because it looks like a smaller version of the HVD pattern. For dog groomers near me, Bing has DGL around position 5.5, while Google has it buried in the 50s. Same kind of split, just earlier in the site's life cycle, so I would score prediction 2 like this. Not fully confirmed yet, but clearly on track. Prediction 3 was right on direction, but early on timing. The prediction said Senior Home Care Finder would get its first organic click in week 5. It happened in week 4, and it did not come from Google. It came from Bing. The query was for a specific facility name, St. Anne's Wegman Care Center. Bing ranked the matching SHCF page around position 5. Someone clicked. Google still shows 0 clicks, but Google impressions jumped from 32 to 260. Tracked queries jumped from 11 to 51. Average position improved by about 5 spots, so the underlying logic of the prediction was correct. Organic search traffic was about to appear, but Bing got there first, and the reason seems important. Bing is surfacing SHCF for highly specific name facility searches. Google is surfacing it more for generic home care and city searches, where the site still does not rank well enough to earn clicks. Same site, different user intent by search engine. Because this week gave me something I did not have before, a clearer framework for how these sites split across search engines. I think there are 3 patterns now. Pattern 1, the SEO prism effect. That's HVD, and DGL may be heading there too. Google buries the site. Bing ranks it on page 1. Traffic comes through Bing, DuckDuckGo, Yahoo, and other engines using Bing's index. Pattern 2, balanced. That's Splashpad Locator. Both engines rank it reasonably well. Google dominates on raw volume. No major prism split. Pattern 3, query divergent. That's Senior Home Care Finder. The 2 engines are not just ranking it differently. They're using it for different kinds of searches. Bing for named facilities. Google for generic location intent. Almost no overlap. That vocabulary did not exist for me a week ago. The data produced it. Now I need to introduce the 5th site because it changed the shape of this week's portfolio. The 5th site is Smart Investor. I have not covered it properly on the channel yet, but this is the right moment because its first Google Search Console data just came in, and the baseline is the strongest first week Google baseline of any site in the portfolio. Here's why that's interesting. Smart Investor is not a fresh idea. It was an existing site, a small catalog of 34 financial tools. I submitted it to AdSense months ago, rejected for thin content. So last week, I rebuilt it. Not refreshed, rebuilt. It is now a national investment advisor directory with about 4,800 advisors across all 50 states, 6 retirement calculators, and more than 25 blog posts totaling north of 55,000 words. The original tools section is still there, but it is no longer the whole point of the site. Now the site is about helping people find a fiduciary advisor. And the first 4 days of Google data were strong enough that I had to include it in this episode. 5 clicks, 1,273 impressions, 220 queries tracked, 251 pages already appearing in search. For comparison, Senior Home Care Finder had 2 impressions in its first week. Dog Groomer Locator had 54. Smart Investor had 1,273 in 4 days. Day 1 was 18 impressions. Day 4 was 687. That's 38 times growth in 4 days. One advisor page, Pioneer Wealth Management in Weaverville, North Carolina, is already ranking around position 2.3 on Google. One of the tool review pages earned its first click, and the specialty pages for wealth management and retirement planning are already on page 1. So, after getting rejected by AdSense as a thin content tools site, Smart Investor may have come back as the strongest early Google performer in the whole portfolio. That does not prove the redesign worked yet, but it does say Google is paying attention immediately. Speaking of AdSense, quick update. Holistic Vet Directory was submitted last Thursday and is still in getting ready. Splashpad Locator was submitted on Monday, so I now have 2 applications in flight at the same time. And this is one of the frustrating differences between Search Console and AdSense. Search Console gives me data I can work with. AdSense mostly gives me silence. HVD went in on April 17, 2026, and 6 days later, the status still just says, getting ready. And if a site gets rejected, the feedback is usually so general that it is hard to know exactly what needs to change. And what makes that useful is that they represent 2 very different profiles. HVD is the Bing heavy Google Lite case. SPL is the Google heavy Bing Lite case. 2 opposite search profiles going through the same reviewer pipeline. If both get approved, great. If only one gets approved, that tells me something very specific about what kind of site profile Google is rewarding right now, and that matters for Smart Investor next. So here's the scoreboard. Prediction 1, correct. Prediction 2, trending correct, not final yet. Prediction 3, correct on direction, early on timing. And the bigger takeaway is that the prism effect is not one thing. There are at least 3 patterns now. Next video should be even more interesting. If AdSense decisions come in, I'll have real approval data on 2 very different site profiles. If they do not, week 5 data should tell us whether DGL actually plateaus, whether SHCF gets its first Google click, and whether HVD's widening gap keeps widening. Either way, we learned something. Thanks for watching.